go, sir.
Oh, you did? We all set? We all set?
Sure. Yep.
I'll now open the scheduled meeting for the Board of Selectmen for Thursday, March 16th, 2017. All rise, salute the flag. All together, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, and liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Opening comments, Vice Chair Enzo?
No, not at this time. I think I'm all ready to go.
Secretary, Mr. T.
Mr. T. We had a meeting last Thursday night with the Bylaw Committee, which I'm sure everyone will want to talk about when we get there. And I am working on the minutes, and I'm not done yet,
Okay,
so I'll have the next meeting. That's okay?
that's fine. No, no. Appreciate you taking the minutes. My opening comments, I just want to, while the Superintendent of Public Works here, I want to, and the Fire Chief too as well, as police, you did an excellent job during the storm. It was very well taken care of, you, the roads, and it was a long drawn-out affair for you. But your people did an excellent job, Dennis. And I'm sorry?
Town employees did an excellent job.
Well, the town employees, yeah, they did an extra job. The hours, you know, the late hours, I know. I heard them 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning, you know, putting down the sand and the rain and freeing up the catch basins, you know, working that, which is difficult, especially as the snow is freezing. But on behalf of the board, I want to say thank you.
Thank you. Men will appreciate it. Thank you. Staff.
Gentlemen, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes of March 2nd, 2017, and March 9th, 2017. I entertain a motion. Motion's been made. Is there a second?
I'll second it for discussion.
Motion's been seconded. Discussion.
Well, the March 9th meeting minutes, I think T's working on those, right?
That's correct.
So we'll
Waive those
waive those and we'll approve the March 2nd?
only.
Yep.
Okay?
Okay.
Uh,
I'll second it
Any further discussion?
No.
All those in favor signal by saying aye.
for... Aye.
Aye, motion carries unanimously. At this part of the Selectmen's meeting, it's an open forum. If somebody wants to get up and say anything or speak to the board, it's open. This isn't Russia, so we like to make sure people have a forum in the town of Nahant. Anybody? Can I help you? Are you here? You're here, I know the library.
Child's engineering.
Huh?
Child's engineering for the
Oh, boy.
Tudor Wharf.
Oh, yes, yeah. Good to see you. I hope you brought your helmet. Okay. The town administrator's report. Jeff, it's up to you.
Okay, great. First item is a discussion of Tudor Wharf, and I think I'll set the table for the public. We all understand the kind of background to this discussion, but I wanted to make sure that the public understood. So this last fall, we put out a bid for the Tudor Wharf project, which envisioned seawall rehabilitation around the lower parking lot area, and then also the replacement of the slip or the boat ramp. The project was specified to have a completion, or I should say a substantial completion, by April 1st. We have recently had the contractor come to us and state that he is unable to meet that timeline. So we are here tonight to try to talk about policy direction on how we proceed. The developer or the contractor is specifying that he has product delivery delays that have caused this situation. I have asked for a recommendation from the DPW director, Dennis Ball, and kind of a contract overview from legal counsel. You have received both of those, so we'll be using that material when we get into it. We have here tonight Dan Scripp, who is legal counsel, Dennis Ball, who is the DPW director, And then our contracting engineers for the project from Childs Engineering, we have Fred Radcliffe and Stephanie Smith from Childs Engineering.
Oh, they're both from Child.
From Childs, yeah, exactly. So the main reason for the April 1st deadline was to avoid impacting negatively the kind of commercial and recreational boating season. The lobstermen and the fishermen come back into the water in April, and they need the ramp itself to be completed. So that's our biggest issue right now, is the fact that we can't get substantial completion. The seawall work has been substantially completed. The ramp has not been started since we were notified of the non-compliance. We stopped them from going any further. So tonight I'm going to have Dennis Ball walk us through generally his recommendation. I think it's a very supportable recommendation. And when you look at it, before I turn it over to Dennis, I just want to identify that we are in a good position with the contract. We've provided no payments to the contractor at this point. He's about 25% through the project, and we have also spoken with the state about the Seaport grant, and the monies that were provided for us, the $75,000, are flexible and can stretch out over time if need be. So with that, I think I'd just like to have Dennis kind of walk us through his recommendation and the project itself.
Dennis, grab a chair and come up here. We can turn this around. You can sit right there. We're not afraid of you, so.
That's fine, just spin that, there you go, the mic around.
Yeah, I'll take you.
Give him Richie's mic.
Thank you. Okay, just to, you have the recommendation in front of you. What we're thinking is because the substantial completion date became pretty evident that we weren't gonna be able to meet that date, probably third week of February. We called a meeting with our engineers as well as the contractor. At that time, he put together a hard, realistic schedule. That schedule was extended to substantial completion on June 1st, outside date of June 12th. And that was given a delivery date of the sheet piling for the ramp this week. The sheet piling has not been delivered to the site this week, primarily because of the weather conditions that we saw over the last couple of days.
And Dennis, on the steel piling, it's a special order, right?
It's a special order, and it's the foundation of the ramp construction. It's the outer wall of the new ramp. So it's a coated steel sheet piling. It's not an off-the-shelf item. There's a submittal process that the contractor had to go through. The equipment or the material was finally approved by Childs Engineering. At that time, the sheet piling was ordered somewhere in February, mid-February, with a month or so on delivery. So given that scenario in front of us, we could do either one or two things. We could have the contractor proceed as contracted and just let them go through the project. My concern, obviously, is as a resident of the town, and as someone who lives there and understands the vitality and the importance of this real estate to the town. We walked through many, many scenarios with the engineer as well as the contractor, and our conclusion is that if we could hold off on the ramp work until September or so, that will satisfy the town's requirements or the fishermen's requirements with respect to doing their business uninhibited. It will allow the pleasure boaters access, and the community as a whole access and use of that wharf area uninhibited throughout the summer months. So it's my recommendation that we freeze the contract, if you will. We're not stopping anything. Freeze the contract until September. At that point, they'll proceed with the work with the ramp. My fear, or my real concern is as soon as they put a shovel or disrupt that ramp, regardless of how we dance, things are going to be disrupted. Ultimately, it will cost us potentially money and a lot of heartache with respect to the residents. Use of that use of that real estate, so,
So Dennis, the ramp is the only thing that is really left to be done.
correct.
And your discussion with the contractor is that he would do so at no extra cost to the town.
Correct.
Is there any extra cost, Jeff, to this project? Was there any extras? I got an email from you that saying there was extras.
Well, what we had is the original bid was for the seawall and the ramp, and then we had add-alls that we had put into the bid, hoping that if we had extra money, we could do the add-alls. We did all 4 add-alls, which are great. And then in addition to that, there was a wall that, if you look at the ramp going down here, and you have the lower parking lot here and the upper parking lot here, this wall under the upper parking lot, we hadn't touched, but in discussions amongst ourselves, we saw that the condition of it was such that it may be beneficial while the contractor's there to see if he can give us a quote on it. And he's given us a quote on it, and it's about $32,000. So what we're looking into is if we can use FEMA claim monies for damage to the wharf, and we think we can, to just have the contractor finish that as well.
I think you should do it for free,
It's-
personally. I mean, this guy, has anybody been in touch with the bonding company? Have you? No. Why not?
I think that's, Dan, could you speak to that?
Make a call on the bond, you first have to basically terminate a relationship.
I'm not saying calling the bond, I'm saying, why hasn't somebody called in the bonding company and said, look, this is what's happening here, you know, let them light the fire under them?
And you should give them incentive, give them unified incentive. Well, you get them involved and everything becomes more procedural. They're gonna look to the contract and say, well, there's certain procedures that have to be followed, which include bringing in the contractor for a meeting, survey the situation, and then go from there.
Okay.
You certainly can, there's nothing stopping them, but everything gets much more formalized at that point. You want to get involved, and people start taking really, really hard stances.
And why is there no penalty in this contract? There's no penalty clause in this. It's been completely eliminated.
This is an AIA document, American Institute of Architect document, that is pretty standard for this purpose. And in the bond, the reference with the AIA document and the bond document is the combination that gives us the teeth.
The actual document is the bid. The bid is what is actually the contract. The AIA, I have it right here. I have the document right here, and this is just a standard document that something should have been, you know, there should have been something in there that there was a penalty clause in there, because from what I see, and I get down there every day, and really, you should be going down there, you should have been watching this, because an hour before the last meeting, I found out that it wasn't gonna be done. Now, I don't know about you, Richie, did you know? T, did you? I had no idea this was not gonna be done until an hour before the last meeting, and I kinda knew anyway. I have been asking for over a month. I asked for you to come, Charles Engineering, and I see here, who is VM Consulting?
VM Consulting is Vicki Masson, who is our contracted.
Okay, so we gave her $3,600. Where's her report?
She actually works directly with Dennis, so she functioned as a direct aid to Dennis.
You're the one that hired her, Jeff. Where's her, I'd like to see her report on, I mean, she got paid for all this. She should be here, she should be explaining why this wasn't done. The engineers should be really on the hook for this, for some of this. It's not gonna be done, and I understand that, okay? And I don't wanna fire the contractor, because I think if we do, it'll just create a big problem.
Agreed.
Okay? So, but there are questions that I want to ask, and I can't understand why we weren't informed of this beforehand, Jeff. This is really, it's not Dennis. Dennis came into this late. He came into it late. This is on you. You should have told us about this a long time ago, and I asked for you guys to be here at the last meeting, and I can tell you right now, I'm not happy that you weren't.
So
You got
Dennis.
paid, you got a certain amount of money, didn't you?
Yes,
Did you get paid?
yes.
Okay, so you've been getting paid, so you should have came to us and explained this to us.
So Dennis, can you discuss the process and procedure and when you first
I expect you to answer that, Jeff.
Well-
Not him, no, excuse me, not Dennis. He came in late. Dennis, this contract was signed in October, the end of October. Dennis wasn't put into this until the end of November, and he has all he can do to maintain a DPW right now. Again, this contract is, you signed it, you're the one that put this together. There should have been, you gotta hold their feet to the fire, because I can tell you right now, it's a $650,000 contract, am I correct? $675,000 contract, I can tell you right now, I'm not gonna let the town get beat on this. I
And-
want it done, and I want it done right. The other thing is the cement. Did you ever get the test results back? Anybody get the test, did you get the test results back?
Test results
Okay,
for-
so
for-
how did the sand,
Compressive strength brakes were good.
really? And even though you can see sand on the cement?
The brakes were good. We had to, the honeycombing was due to inadequate vibration.
Really? Yes. So what are we gonna do?
They patched it.
They patched it.
They've already patched it, yeah.
So when the first wave comes in and knocks it down, then what are we gonna do?
Our spec handles those kinds of problems. If there's honeycombing or some kind of defect, the spec handles how to address it.
Well, I had a couple of masons look at it, and they said absolutely not. That's sand, it's a bad mix, and you shouldn't leave it there. And there was a question about the rebar, am I correct?
Reinforcing steel had to be, I was there on the site when it was poured.
Okay,
Some of the dowels were sticking up too high. We had them cut it off so that you could maintain 3 inches coverage. So they did that at my request. But there were some photos taken, rebar was exposed, and that's the area that has been patched. I wasn't happy with the pour, obviously I'm not happy with the results, but,
well, then have them take it out. You're the engineer, have them take it out, have them re-pour it.
well, I don't,
So Fred, what's the,
shipping out versus patching it, and we chose to patch it.
and Fred, what's the procedure? When you're dealing with the contractor has options, it's means and methods.
Right.
Yeah, and so can you explain?
Well, depending on the severity of the problem, you can go in, you can saw cut it, you can chip it out, you can patch it. In this case, we chose to patch it. So we're satisfied with the result.
And what you're verifying is that the quality of the project isn't compromised.
So what happens if we're not satisfied with it, Jeff?
Well, we hire an engineer to be our eyes and ears, and so if the engineer is satisfied, we're satisfied.
So we've spent $3,600 with one engineer, an engineer to look over an engineer, and wish I had that job, and we've given them $12,000. So that's to the tune of about $15,000, $16,000, and we have bad cement.
Dennis, do you want to speak to that from a construction
Oh,
perspective?
it goes beyond, the fee that you're seeing there goes much beyond the cement issue, right? Their fee, obviously, is related to, obviously, their initial investigation of the site, their design of the site, building the specifications, putting the specification out the bid. They're not anywhere near 100% of their fee, their contracted fee.
Okay, the sheet piling was submitted on, looks like in January.
A couple times.
Which again, that's a means and method.
Yeah, that's, the contractor has a right to submit many different
Okay.
options.
But the engineer should have said, this is the specifications,
Correct, and they did.
okay? This is what we want. We need a certain type of epoxy on the sheet piling that we're gonna use, okay? And they have to follow that, so they submit it. So how many times did you reject it?
Submittals?
Yeah,
We've rejected plenty. We've been going through the submittal process for a long time,
okay.
including several iterations of the sheet metal.
Well, I can tell you, I'm not happy with it. I'm not happy with their performance or their performance at all. And Jeff, quite frankly, this is not on Dennis, this is on you. This is, it's bad. It's bad, and I can tell you right now, this better come out right.
Well, it's our intention that it will come out right. And Dennis is doing an excellent job in overseeing this, and so is our engineers.
Again, Jeff, you're supposed to oversee this,
Oh, and I am through Dennis.
okay? No, you're supposed to oversee this through yourself, okay?
What
You
you-
signed the contract, this is what we do, and that's how I would like to see it. And Dennis, Dennis is, you're thinning him out a little bit, I think, and, and he does a great job.
does an
I mean,
excellent job.
I can tell you right now, I was down by there today, and every one of those guys in that DPW respect him and they like him. Every single one of them. And that's the first time I've ever heard that, okay? So, thank you, Dennis.
Dennis is doing an excellent job. So the policy direction we're seeking tonight is, should we follow Dennis's recommendation, which is a sound recommendation, and it ends up giving us a product that is per specs and with no additional cost, it's just a time delay. And the time delay is specifically for the purpose of trying to avoid any impact on the commercial and recreational boating season.
Well, again, I think September's too, you're gonna be doing it next December, because when do the boats come out, Richie? You know that better than I do.
October, November.
Yeah,
Okay.
we need to negotiate.
Right. You know, this would have been,
That ended.
and this would have been a perfect year. I mean, we're having 70-degree weather, 60-degree weather. I mean, and again,
But that
I
was-
really think that you guys really should have done a better job on this. I can tell you right now, the engineering firm, I have no faith in at all. So, and I want to see a report from this VM Consulting. I want to see her report. For $3,600, I want to see the report. I want to see what she actually did.
You will
okay?
get that from Dennis then, because she works for Dennis.
Okay, well, she works for us.
Well, she works for
Ultimately,
Dennis.
there's Board of Selectmen of the board, we run the town, and that's just the way it is. Do you want to see the report, gentlemen?
Well, how many engineers you got working on this thing?
15 of them.
No, I mean, I see Charles Engineering.
Charles Engineering is the
And they're
primary.
supposed to get paid, what, 32,000?
36.
36,000. And then who's this Vicky?
Vicky is the town's representative on multiple projects.
Multiple.
On multiple.
What does she do?
She's our eyes and ears
Engineers.
of the engineering aspect of the projects. All right, she helps us a great deal, primarily because of the backlog of infrastructure projects at this point.
Well, I'm concerned that we didn't get notified about this, I'll tell you that. Not from you, but there's a snafu here, there's a mix-up here. And, just makes the town look bad, and we're the town, you know?
I wouldn't say so, Mr. Chairman.
Well,
I think,
it makes us look bad because, see, we took this project on to get it done, and we promised the lobstermen, the recreational people that have a new slip. And then, when the bid came in low, I said, now we can repoint those walls on both sides, you know. And then I'm hearing from a selectman that he said that the sand is not, I mean, I don't know, I mean, is there a report, did someone
Yes.
give you a report on the sand? Is it gonna wash out a year, or?
Concrete repair?
I mean, usually in the
footing.
past, the one along the wall along the parking lot where they pointed it up, they usually dig behind that wall and reinforce that with concrete
Behind the seawall.
behind the seawall, yes.
And I know that was suggested, and I was not in favor of that. And the reason is you've got granite curbs parallel to the wall. You've got other granite curbs going perpendicular to the wall. That's the item that holds the wall in place. So if you dig down behind it and you remove the dirt from around those tiebacks, basically, then you've lost stability of the wall. So I was not in favor of that approach.
The grouting of the wall, let me just say this. There's a cement cap on that wall, correct? Where people stand. Is it got any cracks in it? There's no cracks. There's no cracks in that. So that wall is not sinking at all. It's pretty stable, all right? The problem is the footing down below that was poor, that could very well undermine, is where there's going to be a potential problem. So if you're saying that it's not going to wash out, then maybe, are you going to pay for it if it does?
The footing is not undermined, the footing was eroded, and so it was no longer supporting that bottom course of the granite.
Right, but they hand mixed the cement, and, yes, they did.
No, concrete curb was poured with a Zin mixer.
Okay, but the cement, that's right, the one down below. Right. But,
Rejointing has been done by hand.
yes, I've watched them do that. But that cement down below, you can just see it, and you're gonna guarantee that that's not gonna wash out.
Say cement down below.
This is that footing, the reinforced footing.
It was that poor.
Okay, so that ends it right there. As far as the patch, all you're doing is putting something over bad cement. I would like to see it taken out.
You want to chip out the whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, and on them, it's on them.
I guess when it comes to means and methods, is it an appropriate means and method? I mean, I don't want to get into a situation where we're vulnerable or liable.
I'm not sure I'd want to be chipping out anything from that wall.
Chip it out.
I'm not sure.
It's not holding anything right now.
I wouldn't want that bottom granite block to become undermined once again.
Well, now here's the thing, okay? If you look at the plans, your engineering plans, it says down to the mud line. They poured that cement on top of rocks. They didn't even pull the rocks out.
They were supposed to remove the loose stuff. I didn't want them to remove.
You're talking about little pebbles and you're talking seashells that they just poured right over it. Again, they're supposed to get down to the mud line. They should have dug it out, and they should have poured it. Listen, I've poured cement before, and I can tell you,
Take it out because I didn't want that footing to be undermined. All we're trying to do is build out that concrete
Right.
footing, that little wedge that's missing. That's all we're trying to do is build it out. The footing is not undermined.
Okay.
That's why we didn't excavate.
I hope for your sake it stays in place.
Well, we have warranties within the contract itself, and so those are traditional, and we'll follow the standardized approaches. I mean, that's all we can do. And I think what Dennis is trying to do, and I'm trying to do, is to come up with a situation where we get the product we need for the money we have, and it's delivered at the quality that Childs has designed. And I think that Dennis's recommendation does that.
Okay, so, T, I'm sorry, Rich, I had interrupted you before.
No, I know you did.
I'm sorry.
Don't try not to do it again.
Okay.
T, go ahead. You have any questions?
This AIA document,
When you say penalty clause, you mean liquidation clause? Liquidated damages? Liquidated damages. That is still contingent upon there being a breach of contract. And in the letter I mentioned to you, it's not clear cut that there is, so.
that much harder. But is it possible that we can get contracts in the future that have penalty clauses written into them?
So liquidated damages, so let's use that term, I think that's the term we're using, absolutely.
Beforehand, when the bid goes out, we're gonna put a penalty clause in it.
That can be part of the
I read the bid, and I believe it was part of the bid. It was part of the bid, and that, the bid is the actual document. The bid is the actual contract. This contract is just a standard, in my eyes, a bogus contract. So, I think that, I'm sorry, T, go ahead.
And secondly, it's out of the contract, and we update monthly, and that be written into the contract.
Sure.
Sure.
It's sort of went by, holidays went by, and all of a sudden, it's like Angela said,
Yeah, there was, at that time, there was administrative work on the front of the project that was done. There was really nothing to report other than the fact that the contractor was going through his submittal phase. And we had, by the end of December, just before the holidays, we had a pretty good understanding of what the first month or so's project schedule was gonna be. That's it. That's all we had. But just speaking in general terms, if you have penalty clauses or liquidated damages clause, those are usually a double-edged sword contract, because on the other end, contracts can't be one way. If there's liquidated damages, typically there's a reward side as well. So if the contractor finishes X number of days before the contract or substantial completion is done, they're typically rewarded financially on that end. So it is a double-edged sword, so we gotta be careful. Do you agree or disagree?
It's a negotiated.
Right.
That's negotiable, yeah.
Of course it is. It's just, but typically what I've seen in my life, it's a double-edged sword. So we'll walk very gingerly, and we'll rely on councils.
So T, looking at your points, and I think your points are valid, we could actually have kind of project reviews come to this meeting quarterly, or depending on what's happening, because we often have a lot of capital plans going on, and so if you'd be interested, we could have, Dennis come in and just give you an update. And I think that would be beneficial not only for you, but for the public, to understand what's happening, because there's a lot that's going on in this town when it comes to capital. So, for policy direction,
Well, I have some questions.
Yeah, thank you.
You finished?
Yeah?
I just wanna, Charles, you know, we really, kind of a small town, but we kind of rely on our engineers, and especially our contracting engineers, that develop the plan. We kind of rely on them to make sure they protect us, and to make sure if these things don't happen, or give us enough notice, advance notice, so that we're prepared, and I don't come to a meeting and all of a sudden we got a major problem, and I've got to tell everybody that we've got to stop the project to walk because materials weren't ordered in time. And I find that hard to believe because when they put a bid in for this project, and it's not a light project, $675,000 project, pretty good sized project for the town of Nahant. I would think they would order the materials before they even put the fence up on the site. Do you know what I mean?
I do, but
I'm just, I don't want you to answer it. I want, kind of rely on you people to protect us, to make sure, you know, we're giving you, what, $36,000 on this project, which is not a bad engineering project. Are you the project manager?
yes,
You're the assistant project manager? Okay. And then Vicky is your manager. I want to, the engineering, which, I'll get to this Vicky in a minute, but you know, we look, okay, to the town administrator first, and to go to him to say, okay, I don't like surprises.
I don't either.
You know?
We found out on March 2nd,
You found out on March 2nd?
found out on March 2nd that he gave us a schedule after asking him for 2 months to give us a schedule. We got a schedule on March 2nd, and we found out that it was gonna take him 2.5 months to complete the job.
I don't live far from that project, and I wake up every morning, and it seemed like nobody was there. I know they were working the tides, but I even made sure I get up early to make sure the tides are changing. It doesn't seem anybody was physically, even the good weather. And the good weather, like on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, was almost hitting 70 degrees, and a low tide, and I said, still there's no one there working. And I found that, I said, boy, that seems odd. I'm not sure exactly what they were doing, what kind of, you know, delay, if they had known it back in February or January that this wasn't gonna happen.
We were going through the submittal process beginning in, what was the first submittal? It's been an ongoing process. They give us submittals for the sheet piling, they give us submittals for the grout, for the rebar, which still isn't approved. And every time we either approve it or we reject it, there's always been an email back and forth saying, where's the schedule, where's the schedule? And it wasn't until March 2nd that we got the schedule.
In my business was the food business, and we used to pay for performance. Do you know what I'm saying to you? And this performance here is, if I had to give you a rating, was below par. And just not protecting the town. And I get upset when someone that we hire to fulfill a contract, and they're not protecting the town, or not informing us, the board, or someone come out and say, listen, we've got a major problem here, because we've been waiting years for this ramp to get completed. And we've been working on that grant, and there's a lot happening behind the scenes politically to make sure this town of Nahant gets our share of grants. And we were awarded that grant, which is huge for the town of Nahant, which is out of the 351 cities and towns, we're the smallest. And we got that grant, I'm saying, wow, huge, good. Have that project done, because we owe these people. We owe the fishermen, recreational boaters, you know, and I thought it was gonna be a great, great thing. But I hope and pray, this meeting tonight, you can go forward, when you leave here tonight, to stay on top of this, and keep us informed, whether it's weekly, monthly, status. And I really don't care who gets the reports to me. I think you should report to Dennis and Vicky, your engineer.
so, yeah.
We're paying her too, right? I like to see what she's reporting too, because I'm confused about that to begin with, but you need to give us a timetable and make sure that, well, that project can't start in September because they need that ramp in September. But I'd get all the materials down there to start in October, okay? In October and November, it could be very good with the 8-week window.
We have some weather constraints and temperature constraints. We need to make sure we're getting that thing.
Well, you should put all
sooner
that,
rather than later.
you should put that in written form for us.
It's in our spec, it's in our spec.
Well, give it to us in written form so that we know the timetable. And then leave yourself an alley. If you have a problem with the weather, conditions, put that down as footnotes. So we're not engineers. I wouldn't know if that sand was good, bad, or indifferent. I have no idea. I'm not an engineer. And we expect you, as the engineers, and Vicky, is it Vicky? Yes. To tell us what's good and bad. But the idea, I'm not upset, but I'm looking for you people to protect the town because we awarded you the contract, the engineering contract. Did you understand what I'm trying to say? Okay, that's all I'm gonna say. Fine. I go along with your recommendation. I think it's the only way we can go. Keep the contract and just extend it out toward, and I give you some room. Give yourself some lee room out to December, so you can have, just in case, But if something happens from now until then you need to get with everybody, the parties, and come back in here and sit down with us.
So just as a point of language,
Right.
we're not using the word stop, because
No,
because the word stop has a contractual,
Whatever words you're using, whatever the council, he's right here, he'll give you the words to use, all
Correct.
right?
we're extending
We
the
pay
contract.
him trillions,
Trillions.
you know what I mean? Now we're paying more money forever,
So just so we understand, the next step would be that we will work out a kind of a subcontract that will lay out everything. And in that subcontract, we'll lay out their performance requirements, the bonding will be extended. So it'll just be a kind of a further contract that locks everything in place.
Did you get the grant, the Seaport
It's
grant
extended. It's extended, yeah.
You did get that
Yep.
approval? You
Yep.
get that in written form?
We do.
I want to make sure of that.
One final point, Mr. Chairman, that I'd like to make perfectly clear to the town is that we are elected, and we are responsible for whatever happens in this town. And for us to be informed really makes us look good, it really helps us, because it's always political in this town.
And Dennis, you're doing, and I have to echo Enzo's, your people down there are working for you great. You're doing a good job. This is something, it's a lot of work to put on your shoulders. And I would, if I were you, I'd put a spreadsheet together for the board to review on all the major projects.
Absolutely.
Walk being at the top, whatever, list them in order of monies. Like the water and sewer, and we're gonna go to town meeting, we need funding for the MWRA, and that has to be looked at, and what's the engineer, because, Fox Hill project, the water, the water drainage and all that stuff.
Yes, yep.
But I'd like to make that a motion.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion that the superintendent of public works, in conjunction with all your engineerings, Charles,
Capital projects.
all the projects, and the town administrator, put a worksheet together, a spreadsheet, on all these projects, and I would put in, from soup to nuts.
The status report.
The state of the cost of the project, the extended, when the timing on the whole thing would be completed, and if you have any footnotes or any questions, or something has to be notified, we have to be notified, so we're in the loop. Say, okay, Mr. Chairman, here's for the board, and we can review this, and, you don't have to show up here and, all right?
Easy enough.
Motion's been made, is there a second?
I'll second it for discussion.
Motion's been made and seconded, discussion.
So that means that we're gonna extend the contract with VM Consulting, because he'll need an engineer to do all this.
No, actually, VM Consulting isn't within the contract, so that's a separate contract. It's kind of like a contracted staff member.
Who's VM?
Vicky Masson. So this will be between Unified and the town.
Okay, so this is strictly, all right, I'm satisfied. I do have a couple more questions for these people, though.
Go ahead.
You have it's right here, on the 2nd of February, footing installation, Childs on site to oversee. Childs issued a field inspection report. I want to see that. I want to see Vicky Moscone's report. And CEC and Unified had phone conversation regarding, this is on the 16th of February, this discrepancies in the rebar plans due to the changes in the sheet pile material and the construction. I don't understand why this is, I still can't comprehend why this has gotten this far, and we didn't know about it. And the construction of the alternates. The alternates would have been the
Adults. Yeah.
okay?
Yeah.
I understand that. The rebar submissions were not in line with the new dimensions. The contractor did not provide the new dimensions to the rebar company. CEC, which is Childs Engineering, then provided the new dimensions based on the revised sheet pile and drawings to expedite the submittal process. Again, we should have been notified about this, and I gotta tell you, it's disappointing. And like Richie says, you know, you are working for the town of Nahant, and I hope you understand that. And you have to take care of this town. And I can tell you, the performance is bad. I would like to see that footing, there was no footing there before. They can certainly take that out and repair it, make it right. And that's what I'd like to see. And I think they need to, you just need to get it together and work with these people. Again, Childs Engineering, the contractor, I think the bonding company should be notified of what's happening. As a matter of fact, I want that. I want the bonding company to know what's going on.
Well, hang on to that, for a minute. Hang on to that thought.
Well, they actually will have to be.
Let's vote on
Okay.
the motion.
Yeah.
First motion, okay, which is taking Dennis's recommendation and voting on that so we can extend the contract and keep the contract in place, et cetera. Does everyone understand the motion?
Yep.
Hearing no other discussion on the motion, all those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
So you've got exactly, you get your direction, the board, and you as well.
Yes, I do.
Okay, so there's no misunderstanding. Now, did you want to make a motion on, there's the field report from Childs.
And Enzo, just on,
Like a letterhead,
Enzo, just on the bond issue,
kind of light it up a little.
to extend the contract, we actually have to draw the bond company in, so that they'll be aware of all of it.
Just kind of give us a shot, that's all, we want a fair shot from you. That's all. Now
The
you-
contract-
Hold on.
My motion was basically for a report, but it also, part of the motion, I want to
Yes.
Yeah, well, I'm in favor of that also.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. We voted for that, we all voted for that.
I don't see how we have any other choice. But, again,
Why don't we move on, because I think we've had enough discussion, and Dennis has been up for 37 hours, I really want to send him home and get some sleep.
well, he can, let him go,
Okay,
all right?
all right.
Do you want, I can electronically send this to you.
Yeah, you want a copy of that?
And I want Vicky Moscone's too.
Yeah, we'll send a packet of reports that you're referencing in there, so that should be fine. Thank you, Dennis.
Dennis, thank you.
Hey, thank you, guys. Thank you so much.
Really appreciate it.
Okay, so you're saying that the bonding company is gonna be part of this. The new contract, I want it not the same night that we have to sign it. I don't wanna see it an hour before we have to sign it. I wanna see it a week before we have to sign it.
Certainly.
So I can look at it, because I can tell you right now, I wanna see, I would like to see penalty clauses in there. Quite frankly, I do not trust Unified, and I don't trust them. I just don't. I have a bad feeling about it. That's just, and it's, I can say that, and they have shown us that they're not doing a good job.
Well, and I think council hears your concerns, and so council and I will start to work on the documents, and we will definitely bring them back. This doesn't have to work very quickly, so we definitely have enough time to review and go back and forth. If we're delaying the remaining work out, then we have some time. So, no, we heard you. I think Dan's taken notes, and Dan, you and I can talk tomorrow. Okay. The only thing that we need you for tonight, Dan, is if I can skip ahead, Richie, is the warrant. And if I can jump ahead to the warrant, just to take advantage of Dan while he's here for that. The warrant is before you.
I'd rather get through the fire chief here. I don't wanna have him wait. And the librarian's here too for something?
She's the last thing on the,
The very end, yeah.
right,
What? Oh, the Memorial Road Show?
yeah.
Okay. You wanna wait around for that, or? I'll mention it, okay? You don't wanna wait. I hate to have you work all day and then wait here all night. Why don't we get the chief cleared up? Chief, why don't you come up and why don't you present your case?
Pull a chair up.
Sure, come on up, yeah.
Good evening.
So we are now looking at the fire department issue. Over the last couple of meetings, we've talked about EMS billing rates, a write-off policy, and an ambulance enterprise. Mike has forwarded information to us that you have received copies of. And Mike, I know you hope to land these issues tonight, so
You hope to close them out.
yeah, do your best to kind of talk about the details you've sent along in between the last meeting.
Certainly. First of all, if I can give you, this is the revised proposal reflecting all the changes that you had requested, changing in the write-off policy where it says fire department specifying the fire chief would be responsible, and also reflecting the 2017 Medicare rates
Oh, thanks, Mike.
as you had requested. So we'll start with this first, and then we'll move on to the enterprise. Again, what we're looking for is to take our current billing system, which is on the second page. Those are the current rates that we charge. Those are the rates that we've charged for approximately,
BLS,
yes,
that's $1,205.
that is our current rate. That's been the rate for over 2 years.
That's for 2 years. And that's Medicaid paid what?
Medicare, if you go 2 pages further, their current rates are $406.20.
So they only paid 406?
That's correct. They allow 406. They pay 80% of that, and then
They pay 80% of what, 406?
of 406.20. That's what they approve.
Okay, so why are we,
And the rest is listed as an allowance. You would ask me for a calendar year 2016 summary
hang on,
of
just
everything with that.
go back to, your current rate is $1,205 we charge
That's correct.
for an ambulance.
That's correct.
And that's the company that represents you, sends it out for patients.
That's correct.
And the Medicaid only pays 406?
That's correct.
Where's the other 800 go from?
That's what I was about to explain. In the chart that I forwarded to you, the second line is allowances. You take what you have billed out.
Where's the second?
Th- This was in mailing from,
Yeah, it's right there,
Right here?
allowances.
Allowance, what's that mean?
so the first line is gross billable, so that's the $1,205 or the ALS rates plus the mileage for every one of the patients in 2016. That's the gross billable,
Gross billable comes to 189,000.
correct. That they provide the service for the first half of 2016, the billing service.
Then they went to Pro EMS.
Why are we're talking apples and oranges here?
I'm trying to explain that to you.
No, but why would you go from 1,205, right? And now you got a contract, 189,000.
That's total for the year.
Well, why wouldn't you give me individual runs? This is 1,205 per run, right?
1205, some of them are 1950, it depends if they go ALS, BLS, depends on the mileage, depends on if they use oxygen.
Don't BLS is,
That's Nahant.
that's not. You're trying to go from 1,205 to 1,650, right?
Correct.
I'm why wouldn't you put in the allowances? And Medicare's only gonna pay $400 of the 1205?
That's correct.
So where's the other 800?
That's the allowance.
And the allowance is $189,000? Why wouldn't that be broken down individually? You got 189,000, 251 for pro MES, and 440,000.
Right. The third column there is the total, the sum of the other two columns. So the total for the fiscal year was $441,000.
Why would I ask for a fiscal year,
I'm sorry, the calendar year. You asked for calendar year.
calendar year, when you've got this individual at 1205?
I gave you what you asked for.
So, Mike, that billable is, totals is 116, on the,
The net billable for 2016 was $116,000, that's correct.
so that's what you collected,
That is what we are allowed to collect based on Medicare and Medicaid rules.
and plus insurance companies too, right?
Insurance companies, it's if you have a contract with them, which we do not have any contracts with insurance companies.
All right, in ALS, let me just point something out, and, because I'm a little familiar with this, the ALS, Nahant, the patient only gets billed by Nahant. So if it's an ALS run, it's $21.50, correct? That's what the proposal is.
Correct.
And we have a pretty good contract with an ALS supplier.
We do, we have an excellent
So,
contract.
which means that
benefits
Nahant
us
gets most of the money. I think, what do they get, like $150 a run?
$150 per run.
So we're gonna collect $2,000 from the insurance company.
Regardless if we collect the Medicare rate of $482, or if we collect the full rate of $21.50, they get $150.
Right, that's pretty good. I mean, and I think that, you know, if the insurance company's gonna pay it, and Medicare, now what about Medicaid?
Medicaid is less than Medicare rates.
So what happens if somebody doesn't have insurance, and this is the concern, an elderly person that doesn't have insurance, can we work something out where you're gonna, because I'm sure that the person's gonna call us, and I don't want anybody to be afraid to call an ambulance, all right?
Absolutely not.
To fill out the paperwork for an allowance.
I will make sure that we have a supply of the forms available at the fire station. If anyone were to call you or the town hall here, we can certainly make sure that that paperwork gets to them.
I want to make sure that they
Assist them
get the
in filling it
allowance,
out.
though. I don't want to see somebody that's...
All they have
has
to do is submit the paperwork and the allowance is the write-off is granted. And that, just wording purposes, right, allowances and write-offs are two different things,
Right, I know that.
just for semantics.
How much money did we forgive last year? Is that,
That's their $36,500 rounding up.
okay, right.
Right off to the bottom, yeah.
All right. Okay. Well, I mean, we do bill now, and you're just looking for a proposed hike.
But a hike and a change in billing. So instead of getting a bill for the BLS rate and oxygen and a defibrillation, if any of those are used, it's just a straight BLS rate. As they call it, à la carte, going to bundled.
All right, so BLS was $12.05 plus all the other stuff, so you're just gonna go to $16.50. This is no different than what we do now. I mean, it's no different, it's a bundled rate.
Correct.
We only charge four, what is it?
Well, that's just Medicare.
We
They're not
charge
gonna-
$1,205.
We charge $1,205 now?
Yes.
We're gonna go up to $16.50. And so instead of, in other words, these guys have to document how much, if they put an airway in somebody, or an IV, or if they gave them oxygen. So they're actually writing this stuff down.
Correct. It's all based on the documentation
This is
that's
just an
submitted.
easier way to charge them, to say it's one rate, that's it.
Sorry, I just can't believe you're gonna raise these rates on these people. I just can't believe it. I don't like it. And there's no spreadsheet here. You're going from 1205, and then you didn't put it in a comparison. I mean, the EMS billing, and all this other stuff.
I'm sorry, what are you looking at, sir?
You charge $406 now, right?
No, we charge $1,205. $406 is what Medicare allows.
Oh, okay, Medicare, that's what I'm looking, okay. So, and the 800 difference is where?
Is the allowances, the second line of that chart that I submitted to you.
The second,
That's in your notebook.
which is 168,000.
324, 325, all the way over for the,
Why would you do 324,000? Do you understand what I'm saying?
because that's what federal regulations say we have to write off.
Do you understand what I'm trying to say to you? The math doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't, you're not comparing apples to apples. If you're gonna raise it to 1205, right?
No, it is
You're
1205,
gonna raise it to what, 1650?
1650.
Why wouldn't 1650 be comparable in this chart here? Why wouldn't it match up?
This is,
Instead of giving me a total.
I gave you what you asked for.
So,
You're trying to, I don't know what you're trying to do to me, but I'm not receiving, something's wrong here. Something's wrong here. I don't understand. You're raising the rate to 1650 from 1205. Am I correct?
And taking out all of the extra charges, eliminating those.
Calculator to figure out exactly, break down this chart here. That's what I need to do. Am I correct?
Break it down to what? What are you trying to break down?
Well, how do I compute from 1650, right? You're taking it from 1205 to 1650. That's an increase of how much?
Of $445.
$445. That's the base rate.
Correct.
Now, on top of that, if your EMS or EMT give them oxygen, you're gonna charge for that.
That is eliminated with this program. That's the point.
That's all eliminated.
It's all included in that one bundled rate.
Why would you put the allowances with these 156, 148,000? It doesn't make sense to me.
Because you have to. You have to list the total amount that you billed. You have to bill everybody the same amount. So even if somebody has Medicare or Medicaid, you bill them the full amount. Medicare and Medicaid say, this is how much we're gonna pay. We're gonna pay $406.20 plus the mileage. And that's it. And the rest is listed as an allowance.
and so what Mike is doing is he's following state and federal regulations.
If I look at
I
this,
don't wanna
Richie,
look at federal and state regulations.
Richie, can I?
I just wanna look at apples to apples. He's raising the rate from 1205, $1,250, right? To $1,650. Am I correct?
Correct.
And that's an increase of how much? What's the percentage of that?
$400.
400, what's the percentage increase?
20.
Roughly 33.
33%.
So, Mike,
But that 1650 is also incorporating in all the other additional charges.
How much of those, all those other charges, what are they individually? How do you come up with,
They're right here. The current charges are right here.
May I? If
the bundle billing?
the current person, a patient goes out in the ambulance, they're gonna have oxygen, so automatically they're gonna get hit with $76.
On top
Lots
of
of
the-
patients-
On top of the $1,200.
Right, lots of patients get an airway, that's another $185, okay? Most of them do. Cardiac monitor, chances are they're gonna get one of them, and if they need to be defibrillated, it's $162. So actually, it's less. If you add these all up, 228, oxygen 76, that is the $400. So they're getting billed $1,600, $1,700 anyway. It frees up the firemen really from doing a bunch of paperwork.
Well, they still have to do their patient care documentation.
No, I understand that, but it's...
But it cleans up the process that, you know, the billing company doesn't have to go through and pick through and say, okay, they gave oxygen, now we charge for oxygen.
Right.
They gave Narcan, now we have to charge for IV medications.
Right.
They don't have to do that anymore, it's all included in the rate.
Your EMT,
And this is the way Medicare pays, is with the bundled rate.
your EMT or your firefighters can only give, what do they can give? They can only do so much.
They can give oxygen, they can give several medications, including epinephrine, aspirin, Narcan. They can give oral airways. They can defibrillate.
It's $400 right there.
so,
But we're going from $1,200, you know, to
So Chief, on
The
the,
difference between 480 to 1,200 is quite a step, and now we're going to 1,600. I mean, not everyone needs all that stuff.
Well, what's the average BLS?
And then what they do is they bring over, every time the Nahant ambulance goes out, your other ambulance company, what's the name of that one?
Atlantic.
They come here too, aren't they?
They provide the ALS service, that's correct.
So that patient is gonna be billed twice.
No, sir. We went through this last time.
Who's
They
gonna-
get billed once. The insurance gets billed once. If Atlantic goes with us, they get billed at the ALS rate.
So they get a bill.
1950 plus an IV plus a cardiac monitor.
They get billed the 1950. Plus the 1,600?
No,
Plus what's the town ambulance get?
that is what the town ambulance gets.
Right, we only pay them $150, Richie. They get, the ALS company, Atlantic, gets $150 for that run, we get the rest of it. We actually get billed, we bill at an ALS rate, we get more money for that.
That's correct.
Because the town has a very good contract with Atlantic.
And they provide a very good service for it.
Of course they do.
so Chief, by bundling in this manner, if you look at the, let's say we have 100 people we serve throughout the year, the majority of those individuals would benefit from the bundling.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so what'll end up happening is you've got an average cost that benefits the majority of the people served.
I understand the bundle.
Okay.
I just think it's very, very expensive. And I don't, you're not selling me on the increase. Very simple. And I like to see the paperwork they fill out too. I mean,
I've submitted the form to you.
The form is actually in there. Yeah, it's in there.
and then what was the other question I had? The question was, the other question I had for you, did you get a meeting with the, since we last talked with the fire union?
I requested one that very evening, and I was told that they would get back to me. I did not receive a response from them.
So when was the last time we talked?
2 weeks ago.
Please go. Yeah.
So you're telling me the fire union hasn't talked to you in 2 weeks?
They have not gotten back to me on meeting over this issue. That's correct.
That's a pretty simple form.
Why wouldn't they do that to you?
You'd have to ask them, sir.
Why would the chairman of the board ask the fire chief to ask the fire union? Does that make sense to you?
I'm asking myself that very same question.
Have you got involved in this?
No, it's actually a courtesy on their part to respond to a request like this.
Courtesy, but I mean, is there a problem down there?
Not at all, sir.
Why, do you go down there every day?
Every day.
You see them?
I do.
And no one's saying nothing to you.
I requested a
On this-
meeting.
on this
Meet
issue.
with the members of the union to discuss this issue.
Why didn't you call them up in front of me and ask them why?
You are certainly welcome to. That's your prerogative as the chairman.
Do you think that would be wise on my behalf to do that?
That's certainly your prerogative.
Chief, you're the chief.
Yes, sir.
Would you want them, the chairman of the board, to do that to you?
Not at all.
Not at all. Well, I'd get with the union and those firefighters and say, hey, listen, you gotta meet with me. You call a meeting, you're the chief.
I've already, as I told you, I requested a meeting. They were gonna get back.
Don't request it. If you request it, you demand it.
If I demand it, I have to pay them. Are you willing to authorize that overtime at this point?
Well, let's put a motion on the table.
Well, the motion,
We have to make a motion to either accept it or not accept it.
well, I'm not gonna accept it as the form that's in, because number one, you still haven't taken my suggestion on helping someone fill out the form they couldn't fill out. You say you're gonna do it.
No, I said that, A, we would have the form available at the fire station. B, we would be willing to bring it to the person and assist them in filling it out. And yes, I would be responsible for overseeing that to make sure it happened.
And I think you said that even you would be willing to do it yourself.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I cannot fill out the form myself. That would be illegal unless I was a healthcare proxy or a legal proxy for them.
I understand. I just think some people,
Well, we have to, I mean, this is the third, I think the third meeting we've had with them, so
Yeah, but what do we got? We haven't got a buy-in in the fire department. They haven't met with them since 2 weeks. I would think you get involved with that, Jeff, and find out what the hell's going on down there.
Well, I think this is okay.
I mean, you tell me, I asked the fire chief to meet with the fire people to make sure they get a buy-in on this. I'd like to get their, an answer. I mean, and you're gonna raise it from 1205 to 1600, and you're gonna bundle all these charges so they don't have to pay for it, and then Medicare's only gonna pay $480, and what is it, not Medicaid?
Medicare.
Yeah. So now we're missing $1,200, and that $1,200, I mean, this is a lot of money for a senior citizen who's barely paying our taxes now. I mean, and now, if they get in trouble, and those are the ones that need the help financially. In the town of Nahant, we pay for ambulances, we pay for the fire department, the police department, we pay for those responses, and they do a great job, both those teams. Even the public works people show up and help.
Absolutely.
And I just, I don't want to get away from that. And now, and especially, your ALS, they come over, if they hear anything on the radio, they come. I see them coming across that causeway.
They're dispatched by fire alarm as per protocol, based on the nature of the call. They don't come on their own.
They come across the causeway going 100,000 miles an hour. And then when I followed one day where they went. And they went to the fire station, shut the ambulance siren lights off, and just sat there, had coffee. How's that? And if I followed it all the way through, I know we paid them. Someone paid them. Chief, I don't not want to approve this, okay? But I don't like the increase, number one, from 1,200 to 1,600. I don't like the whole department not buying in on this thing. They gotta be, I'd like to put motion for another 2 weeks, and if we can't get, some sort of, you see him every day, and is no one talking to you? I mean, is there something that I'm missing down there?
Not at all.
Why wouldn't they meet with you and give you some direction in this?
They did not get back to me on the request for a meeting. That's all I can answer you on that.
2 weeks, 14 days.
That's correct, sir.
Have you been on vacation?
A couple of days, I was.
Other than
But other than that, I've been here.
Will this save us money on billing?
No, billing is simply a percentage function of what is collected.
Oh, okay. That's
How much is out of the 1,600, how much is the bills, what's the billing percentage of the bill? How much do they get out of that 16?
They get 4% of whatever is collected. So if it's $408 that's collected, they get 4% of that. If it's $1,600 that's collected, they get 4% of that.
You negotiated that one?
That is renegotiated from the previous company, that was 5%.
Who did that?
That was myself working with the
Myself,
town administrator.
When was that done?
They started July 1st.
July 1st.
Okay, so I move that I'm gonna make a motion. I move that the Board of Selectmen vote to approve the revised EMS billing rates and implementation of a standardized hardship write-off policy effective 2/1/17 as presented by Chief Feinberg and attached. So, I mean, we need to make this motion. We need to get this out of the way.
If I may, sir?
Sir?
If you could amend that to April 1st, they've already billed out February calls and so on, so
Okay, so
we
we'll
wouldn't be
we'll
able to
go
go
with
retro.
April, that's, okay, we'll go with April 1st, 2017.
Motion's been made and second. Discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? I'm opposed.
Understood.
The next item is the write-off policy.
No, that was included in
Okay,
that.
great. So the ambulance enterprise.
Am I correct in that the write-off policy was included with that motion?
It's in there, yeah.
Okay, great.
Okay. So the other portion is the enterprise account, part of the discussion. As you know, we've proposed that we transfer some of the line items from the operating budget over to an EMS enterprise account. That allows any of the revenue that's received through the ambulance to help subsidize and defray the cost of operating the ambulance directly. In addition, it allows any retained earnings from that to be rolled over year after year to allow for future purchasing of capital equipment.
I move the Board of Selectmen place on the warrant an article to see the town vote to adopt an enterprise fund under the provisions of the general laws, chapter 44, section 53F and half, for the operation of an ambulance service.
Made, is there a second?
Well, I'll second it for discussion. You've met with the FinCom?
Correct.
I meet with the FinCom on Monday.
Okay.
And
I'll make sure I go to that meeting, too.
And I met with them at the last meeting, which was last Monday.
I want to see, I mean, I don't want this to go upside down either, the enterprise fund. What, do you project it'll make money? I mean, I think the concern is how much labor is going to be involved in it.
In managing the account,
No. How much labor is going to be put into the actual write-off? I mean,
How much
in other words,
personnel costs will be transferred
personnel
into the...
costs.
yeah.
oh, I see.
Right,
Currently, the way it's proposed,
right.
it would be any overtime, EMS-related training overtime, anything related to ambulance callbacks would be taken from that account
Okay.
for salaries.
And Enzo, so, just so you understand, what you're doing is you're placing the warrant article onto the warrant, and it doesn't mean that you have to vote to support it, or you can pass over it. It just keeps it viable, that's all.
Okay, and I think it's important that we have one, because I don't want to get, I don't want to get hit with another $250,000 ambulance. And, the last one lasted longer than expected. This one might not. So 6 or 7 years from now, 5 or 6 years, whatever it is, it's not going to be $250,000, it's going to be $350,000 for an ambulance. So, and it's a viable part of Nahant. We have to have an ambulance here. I mean, we're lucky to have it. We're lucky to have the firemen. We're lucky to have all those guys down there, because they're there in a heartbeat. So I just want to make sure that with the enterprise fund, we can go out and buy another one,
And that's the intent of it.
Right.
As you can see from the...
That can be worked out at town meeting, I suppose.
That's correct.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Is there an effective date you want on this, July 1st, 2017, or
July 1st.
amend the motion for that?
Okay.
July 1st.
Who's gonna do all the paperwork on this?
The town accountant will do the enterprise portion of the paperwork. The rest of the paperwork will be done in its traditional form. The town accountant keeps the enterprise accounts. They will love us for this.
Well, I mean, it's something, we have a couple of
The
minutes.
assistant treasurer won't do that? The treasurer?
No, it's really the town accountant, 'cause she keeps revenues, and
Recommendation on this?
she's been participating in this. She thinks it's a excellent idea for purposes of offsetting the cost.
She said that it was an excellent idea, and she's willing to do it?
She's supportive of it.
That's not what I asked you. I asked you a specific question. Is the town accountant in favor of this, and is she willing to do it? That's the question I asked. Yes or no?
I haven't asked her specifically.
Okay. All right, motion's been made, a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor, signal by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? I'm opposed.
Chief, you have one more item, Academy?
On May 6th, 3 of our newest call firefighters graduated from the Massachusetts Call Volunteer Recruit Training Program to the Massachusetts Firefighting Academy. As part of that, one of our new call firefighters, Robert Morse, was recognized by the instructors as the outstanding student of the class. He received what they call the Martin McNamara Award,
Did you say March 1st or May 1st? May 1st.
March 6th.
March 6th, okay, I heard you. I thought you said May.
Perhaps I misspoke.
Oh, that's fine.
Congratulations from the
Yeah.
Board of Selectmen to Robert.
Right. I think I've met him.
4 months. 4 months of extremely hard work on all of their parts, and they all graduated. They passed their firefighter 1-2 certification, their hazmat operations certification, and they're ready to go.
What, now, it's Robert Morse, who are the other two?
Marissa Titus and Curtis King.
That's good.
That's
Are
excellent.
they EMTs too?
Two of them are EMTs. Marissa is actually testing for a paramedic, and Mr. Morse is starting an EMT program next week.
Excellent.
Good job, good job.
Does he live down on Emerald Road?
I believe that's the neighborhood they live in.
Yeah, I think I've met him. I met him once. Nice to
Please pass along our sincere congratulations to all three individuals.
I will be happy to do so.
Yes, tell them we're proud of them.
Absolutely.
And Chief, congratulations. We'll miss you at the next meetings. We've gotten used to seeing you. So, excellent, thank you.
You'll see more of me.
Yeah, I'm sure I will, thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Okay.
The next item is the Town Charter and Bylaw Committee. I think, T, you were starting to have that conversation. It's really just an update for the public. So if one of you wants to take the update, that'd be great.
I can read it if you want. The upcoming Board of Selectmen agenda has the Town Charter and Bylaw Committee listed on it. This was placed on the agenda at the request of the board, and it is intended as a means of explaining to the public the following. The existence of the committee, and the committee members were Steve Smith, Carol Nelson, and Jimmy Ward, who was just put on the committee. The charge of the committee and the potential of a special town meeting to address any recommended changes.
So, again, it's just notification for the public. I don't know if you want to add anything, T? Yep.
At the meeting was, town council, Dan Strick, our attorney, Attorney Gilbert, and Steve Smith, and Carol Nelson, the four of us. I thought it was an excellent meeting. There was a lot that needs to be said about the town charter versus the Town Administrator Act of 1992. A lot of input by us. Just a quick overview is, I sort of heard it earlier, when there is a problem in the town law, it's the selectmen's fault, and the town charter, the Town Administrator Act, and this committee is going to try to meld them together as best as possible. Mr. Lombard mentioned that he would like to see a special town meeting sometime in the fall. If that bylaw committee is ready, and that's about it. It went very well, a lot of input from all of us. Anything else I missed?
No, I think that was good. That's good. Good report.
The only problem I wasn't on TV, but I can't have it all, I guess.
Great, thank you, T. The next item is the Coast Guard housing article review. So we have two articles on the warrant, the draft warrant. The first one is to rescind the previous vote that approved the sale of the property under the conditions at that time. And then that opens the door for the next article, which is Article 10, which authorizes disposal of the 12 buildings and the 4 acres of property that's called the Coast Guard housing by the Selectmen. One of the questions I have is, I'm going to be soon working on the motions. Do you want me to draft a motion and forward it to you to take a look at it? Typically, a motion like this has quite a lot of specificity, but I'm missing that other than just the disposal. I don't know if there's anything we can...
That's, you could do that. Let me just ask you this. Articles 9 and 10, and Dan, you might know this better, of the annual town meeting warrant. Okay, related to the Coast Guard Committee, we want to rescind that vote, correct?
Correct.
But rescinding, let me see, where's the warrant? All right, so, to see if the town will vote to rescind Article 1 passed at a special town meeting on November 10th, 2008, by a vote of 166 yes and 40 no, to authorize the Board of Selectmen to sell, convey, and/or transfer approximately 150,000 square feet of town-owned land, commonly known as the Coast Guard housing area, to the Bass Point Residences LLC, in the amount of $2,202,000. Well, we never really got that offer, I don't think, for it was 2 million. I don't see how, if the town meeting voted on that, then we should have gotten that. And then Article 10, that's to rescind it. Now, Article 10, if you go to Article 10, it's really pretty much the same thing. I mean, when did town meeting decide that we were gonna sell them as 40 units, or 28, 30 units, whatever it was? Was that 28 units? Was that done?
That was in that article you just read. Yep.
Well, why isn't it there?
Because I think it was part of the contractual, the proposal was brought forward, and so they were awarding the sale of the land based upon the terms of that contract.
Okay.
And so they were in the terms.
Okay. So Article 10 is just gonna say, to see if the town will vote to authorize the selectmen to take any action to dispose of the approximately 4-acre parcel of land. It's pretty much the same thing with, do we sell them as 12 units? And... 12 single-family. Sorry, T?
Yeah, 12.
Okay.
My opinion on this is quite simple. 480 people responded to our survey. 267 people came up to not be for the zoning. And on Monday night in September, very simple, those same people come out again, will vote this in, and the selectmen will begin the process of selling these houses. Begin the process. I will emphasize this until, even on the town meeting day, if we are developing, we will develop a plan after we get the okay. That's my opinion. Okay?
And which we'll have to, we have to, after this process is taken care of, if the town meeting votes that, do we go to another town meeting to approve?
No, it's approved right here. My
So the
guess,
Board of Selectmen would do it?
yes, my guess is that's will generate some conversation on the floor.
Right.
And there will be some sort of amending the motion that we
Right.
made.
Well, I mean, I think there should be. I think that we should, there should be some kind of talk about it and how we're gonna do it and... Right, we're kind of, if there's a lottery, if there's how we're gonna do it and, okay.
But with that understanding, I now have enough policy direction, I can write a motion. So I'll go ahead and start all those motions for all these articles. So that was the Coast Guard housing article review. The annual town meeting warrant, that's the next, if you flip the page over, that's the warrant in front of you. As you will see, we have at this point 41 articles. The last modification you received really kind of juggled some wordsmithing in the CPC article, which is 33, but the majority of this has kind of stayed the same, and we've perfected it. Council and I have been working on this, and the other interested parties, and we think this is the final document in front of you. Richie, you and I had talked about the potential of moving 2 articles in front of the omnibus budget, Article 27 and 28. Are you still interested in that? 27 and 28 have to do with the MWRA borrowing and the emergency water and sewer funding.
I don't see that as being a problem, but let me ask you this, the borrowing, the MWRA borrowing, how are we gonna spend that?
I'll give you a listing on all that. The DPW director has given me a list of projects, and the problem we're having is that he's got a long list of projects that exceed the amount that we would borrow. And I need him to hold some of the funding because the 120,000 is really envisioned to cover unanticipated emergencies.
Okay,
So I'm gonna try tapering him back so he's keeping more of it ready for the upcoming 12 months.
now what about the revetment at 40 steps? Is any of that money gonna be used to fund that?
No. The article you're seeing in the warrant this year just authorizes the borrowing. The borrowing itself doesn't occur until next year. But because we're getting a 75% grant, what we need to do is show the intent that the borrowing is agreeable to the town.
How are we gonna, let me just ask you, just off the record, well, not off the record, but off base here a little bit. How are we gonna match the funds on 40 steps, the revetment up there?
Water and sewer, what we're doing is the revetment is intended to protect the infrastructure.
But that's what I just asked you. I just asked you if we were gonna use any of that money for 40 steps.
Not this year, but we're discussing it for the following year.
but-
And
That's what, I understand that, but that's what I asked, and the enterprise fund, we had $1 million in there, now that we have probably 400,000, and that, I don't think we should be using any of that money for a revetment, and I'm all for having the revetment up there. I don't wanna use any of that money, and that's gotta come off the table, right?
And that would be discussion for FY '19, and we can certainly look at options. It was just proposed that, or I proposed the fact that it would be easiest to take it from there, but certainly we can look at
It certainly would be, but, then now we're gonna be down to probably 200,000. And when we have a major catastrophe, which we could, then we have to go to have a special town meeting to come up with more money for water, and people are gonna wanna know why our water bills are so high, and, we should have been giving back to people all along out of the water and sewer enterprise fund, because the water rates are ridiculous.
Well, we had that $10,000 error, so that the water and sewer rates should go down for next year.
The usage should go down, which should have an effect, yes.
Right.
Which would you have you're talking what, $10,000